Patty, for coming.
Thank you.
We'll start with a very basic question. Tell us about your party.
All right, well, we're the United People's Party, and we're mostly conservative, but not as drastic as party leader David's conservative party. We tend to try and stay near the middle because too far on either side is just too drastic.
Starting with your healthcare policy, you write that employers of large corporations must provide health insurance for their adult employees who work full-time. Would you explain why you think that's a necessary regulation?
Well, because with large corporations, they have a tendency to take advantage of their workers, especially corporations who don't have unions. And we just believe that if you are working full-time for a large company, you should receive benefits for that.
Do you worry that some businesses may consider that an unfair regulation on them?
I do think that some will consider it unfair, but with a large corporation, when you're making that much money, I think you can afford to give your employees benefits instead of just keeping it for your higher-ups.
Moving on to foreign policy, you write that Franklin needs to take action towards the war on terrorism by sending troops to help other nations with this problem and to help eliminate the problem for the rest of the world. How do you advocate actually eliminating terrorism?
Well, I think what my policy writer was trying to say is you can't eliminate a war tactic, but you can discourage other countries from using that tactic, meaning that if a country promotes terrorism, then we should do everything in our power to stop them from advocating it to other nations.
In that same policy area, you write that our National Security Ministry, we plan to fund $12 billion, which will cover all current operations and allow for an expansion of some limited programs. Border security, coast protection, internal crime, drug, terrorism investigation, and intelligence services will receive increased funding. Do you think there should be any limits on the intelligence services?
Well, yes. I mean, we have to respect people's right to privacy. I am not a supporter of wiretaps on everybody without probable cause. I think that the only way that you should have your phone tapped is if you've been known to have contact with a country that promotes terrorism, or we believe you to be a part of a terrorist group, not just the average citizen.
Would you explain your party's stances on the current operations in Afghanistan?
Well, we believe that we should support our U.S. allies and do our best to bring freedom and safety to the people of Afghanistan. We would like to use our resources to help other people around the country, around the world.
Moving on to education, you write that schools should be funded through local property taxes and federal government grants. Schools should be required to meet certain testing standards, and if they do not meet those standards, they will lose funding, and the government will provide a modified program of study. Do you think it's fair to take money away from schools that are clearly struggling already?
Well, we don't want to reward failure. When we say take away funding, we don't want to give them more money to continue what they're already doing. And as you read, we would give them a modified program of study to just help them meet the test standards, in which case when they do meet the test standards, they will receive more funding. The schools that are doing better should receive more funding to continue what they're doing and expand on that.
In terms of economics, you say that you believe in little government control over the economy. In light of the current economic crisis, do you think it's wise for the government to take little role in the economy?
I think that government causes a lot of economic issues rather than prevents them or fixes them. You saw with the bailouts in the U.S. that it didn't really help much. All it did was waste government money. I mean, yes, some jobs were saved, but more were lost, not because of the bailouts, but they didn't save those jobs. And with a free market system, I think that large corporations and small businesses kind of balance each other out, and we just need to, the economy more than likely will fix itself. Will we take a role in the economy? Yes, we don't want a Great Depression, just not as active as a role as some advocate.
In reference to the bailouts, as you know, many people advocated for the bailouts because they believe that if certain large corporations and banks were allowed to fail, that the economy would collapse. Are you saying that that is an unwise philosophy to bail out large banks?
Yes, I am. If they're going to fail, that's with the free market system. You allow the people to make mistakes. You allow them to do that. You don't want government-run companies because that's going into a command economy, and we advocate freedom and free market. So.
But on the other side of the coin, you would say that if I run a large bank that has best interest throughout the entire economy, and I make unwise decisions and my bank fails, the issue then is not so much the impact on me, but the impact on the people who are unassociated with it. So if my bank fails and that causes the economy to fail, not only am I being punished, but people who weren't responsible for my actions are also being punished. So is that a fair economic policy?
Fair. That's the word there. I'm not saying that everybody is equal in the economy, because that's just not true. You have multimillionaires, and then you have people that work in small businesses. Are the multimillionaires more important than the people who work in the small businesses? Of course they aren't. But the economy isn't fair. It affects people more than other people, and the government can't be held responsible for that.
You write in terms of tax policy that we will not allow government to tax corporations, small businesses, owners, farmers, or investors because we do not want the government to have too much power over the people. Do you think it's fair not to tax corporations but to tax individuals on their income?
Yeah, but again, that's a part of our active role in the economy. Because by not taxing corporations, they have more money to pay their employers, and the government has to make money. So we tax individuals rather than taxing the places where they work, so that the individuals can make more money.
But is it fair not to tax a corporation but to tax a worker?
Well, a corporation is a business. It's not a citizen of the Franklin States of America. Well, an individual is a citizen and therefore has the civic duty of paying taxes. So, yes, I do think that's fair.
Do you believe that corporations have free speech rights?
Free speech rights? As long as it doesn't have a clear and present danger, yes, I do.
Because you said that they weren't citizens, so
yeah.
Would they still have the same rights as citizens, the corporation?
Well, I mean, that's a basic right. You don't have to be a citizen to have free speech. Just like in the United States with the Arizona law, the illegal immigrants that aren't citizens are protesting, and they're not being arrested for that.
In terms of tariffs or free trade, where does your party stand on those issues?
We are in support of limited tariffs just to protect our small businesses, but more so free trade. We're not big on having large tariffs that isolate us from the rest of the world.
You also write that although we believe the government should not have a central banking system, they should allow the states to decide. Are you advocating that there should be no national central bank?
Yes, we are. We believe that the economy should rest mostly on the state's hands and not in the government's hands. We would rather have state power when it comes to the economy rather than government power, because states know what their state needs rather than the national government can't look at individual states and see how their economy is.
Do you think it's wise to have 13 different monetary policies going on at once as opposed to one unified national monetary policy?
As I said, the states know what they need and know better than the U.S. FSA government, than the national government would know about those states.
All right, last question. Why should people vote for you?
People should vote for us because we're the wisest choice. We're not too radically conservative like Party Leader David's party or Party Leader Tyler's party, and we're not too liberal like Party Leader Kyle's.